Hello guys, Vicky97 here. This time it's the video I speaked about in the video before, and here we have Albus Dumbledore again. Here portrayed by Michael Gibbon. You know, I could also. He was portrayed by Toby Rackbow, Richard Harris, and Jude Law, but I take the Michael Gibbon, this version of Michael Gibbon's Dumbledore, if you want so, because I think if they think about Dumbledore, a lot of people think about Dumbledore. I think they think about this version of Dumbledore, because, you know, he portrayed Dumbledore for the most part of the Harry Potter series. But let's carry on. So what's this video about? This video is, I called it Albus Dumbledore Timeline, but mostly I compressed the information of Albus Dumbledore's life and I make a timeline with it, so you can sort of, you have a timeline, you know, what happened when in the magical world, because, you know, Albus Dumbledore has such an impactful and long life. I mean, you know, for example, in the Fantastic Beast movies, he played a major role too, or in role too, and in the Harry Potter series, of course, too. So it's a very long life he had, and there's a lot of stuff, important stuff that he done for the magical world, and then you can see, you know, like a timeline of the magical world. And in the Harry Potter world, unlikely like most of the other series, like for example Lord of the Rings, or other fantasy series like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or Star Wars Legends, they have an own kind of timeline, you know. And in Harry Potter we have the same timeline like in the real world, but of course there happened differently stuff in the magical world, you know. So let's get through Albus Dumbledore's life and have a timeline of the Harry Potter world itself, you can say. And therefore I made some I wrote something down on papers and make a picture of it, so that you can see the years and what happened there, you know. Mostly it's about Albus, but some things are just important stuff to know, you know. So let's carry on. Here we have, like always, you know, a picture of J.K. Rowling, the creator of the whole world. And now we come to my notes. I hope you can read it. So let's go for Professor Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore's life and have a sort of a timeline. So don't worry, it's more compressed than the other video. So we just go for one time through every point, you can say. So Albus Dumbledore lived from, as you can see here, always you can see it here, of course, 1881 to 1997, and he gets 115 years old. So his story began on 1881. That's where it's begun. And as I said before, but I said it, I want to say twice here, or for the second time, it's the same, the dates are the same like we have in the real world. So it's the same system, it's the same time, you know. We start here with that time, with Albus Dumbledore was born on 1881. Albus Dumbledore was born. His parents are, his father is named Percival Dumbledore, and his mother is named Kendra Dumbledore. Then around 2 years later, on 1883, or around 1883 and 1884, Albus' brother Aberforth was born, and around 1885, Albus' sister Ariana was born. So what happened to Albus Dumbledore's life? He went to Hogwarts when he was 11 years old, like every other magical student. And then you have, in your first year, you are around 11, and in the second, 12, and so on. And when you are 17, you are an adult in the magical world. So with 17, you are an adult. And in his school time in Hogwarts, Albus Dumbledore was, known as a genius. He was perfect in everything he did, and very powerful from the beginning on. And Albus also was during his 5th year in Hogwarts, he was prefect. And during his 7th year in Hogwarts, he was the head boy, or a head boy. So I make here a side note, because Ariana was treated badly, you can say. I say it also in my Albus Dumbledore video. Badly from 3 Muggle boys, because they don't understand magic. And she was very young. She was 6 years old and doesn't understand her magic too. And so that kind of makes her, destroyed her a little bit mentally, you can say. And Albus' father Percival wants to have revenge and attack these 3 Muggle boys, and then he was sent to Azkaban, where he died later on. And on 1899, also Albus' mother Kendra died by an accident caused by Albus' sister Ariana, because of the bad treatment that the 3 Muggle boys give her when she was around 6 years old. She has no control over magical powers, and that causes Albus' mother Kendra, that causes Kendra's death, you can say. Ariana killed Kendra accidentally on 1899. Albus was there around 18 years old, Aberforth around 16 years old, and Ariana 14 years old. And because of his father Percival was imprisoned in the magical prison Azkaban and died there later on, and Albus' mother Kendra died on 1899, Albus has to look for his younger sister and brother. He was an adult back then, 18 years old, as I say, but he couldn't go away. He has to look for his siblings. On 1899, so at the same time, in the same year, Albus meets and become a friend to Gellert Grindelwald, and this friendship was special and romantical, you can say, was the relationship they were having. And also on 1899, Albus' sister Ariana died by an accident caused by Albus, Aberforth, and Gellert Grindelwald, because Albus and Gellert, they had great plans, and Aberforth said, no, you have to look for Ariana, Albus, and Gellert attacked Aberforth, and so the 3 magicians, the 3 wizards make a duel, and one of the spelling curses they used against each other killed Ariana when she just wanted to look what happened there, and nobody knows who exactly or which spell and from which person the spell came from who killed Ariana. On 1899 happens a lot of stuff. Ariana died there, So we carry on again on 1899. You know, it's a pretty interesting year. Especially 2 months of it, because they are, caused, Albus felt guilty for it his whole life, so it has a lot of impact to him. On 1899, there was the funeral of Albus' sister Ariana, and Aberforth there punched his brother in the face so that his nose broke. And Albus doesn't protect himself because he felt guilty of what happened. You know, he as the older brother should protect his sister and his younger brother. And yeah. So that Ariana died, he felt always guilty about that. And I already write it here down. After that, he felt guilty about what happened and saw that power is his weakness. So he said it later on in the Harry Potter story 2, this sentence, and sees himself from this point on safer as a teacher in Hogwarts, you know, the wizarding school where also Harry Potter went to. So he starts to work there and begins a career there as a teacher or professor, like it's how it is called in Hogwarts. So around the 1910s years, you can say, Albus becomes the professor in Defense Against the Dark Arts in Hogwarts. You see it, for example, in the Fantastic Beasts series, where you see a flashback of Newt Scamander and later Lestrange, where they had the subject Defense Against the Dark Arts by Dumbledore, by Albus Dumbledore. So yeah. And around the 1920s, it's you can say the beginning of the Fantastic Beast movie series. So of the first movie. Yeah, and around 1938, Albus becomes the professor in Transfiguration in Hogwarts. And also in 1938, Albus meets Tom Riddle, aka Lord Voldemort, the Dark Lord, or you know who, for the first time. So Tom Riddle wasn't often there, and Albus meets him and said, you are a wizard and you can come to Hogwarts. Of course, he doesn't know what he later will become. On 1943 was the first opening of the Chamber of Secrets. Yeah. The 16-year-old Tom Riddle opens for the first time, you can say, the Chamber of Secrets and controls the beast who lives in there, the basilisk. Yeah. Now let's carry on. On 1945, Albus defeats Gellert Grindelwald in a legendary magical duel, and Albus gets from this duel one of the Deathly Hallows, the Elder Wand, from that fight. Albus was then awarded with the Order of Merlin First Class from the British Minister of Magic at that time. And in the 1960s, Albus becomes the headmaster of Hogwarts, how we know him from the Harry Potter books as the headmaster of Hogwarts. And also in the 1960s, Lord Voldemort with his followers, they rise in power, you can say. So the first rise to power from Lord Voldemort with his followers, the Death Eaters, were in the 1960s. And in the 1970s was the foundation of the Order of the Phoenix by Albus Dumbledore. And from 1970 to 1981 was the first Visiting War. He was around 11 years. So that was basically Voldemort and his Death Eaters against, they wanted to take over the magical world. And so there were a lot of fights. And of course, the Order of Phoenix fights against Voldemort and the Death Eaters. Yeah. Around 1980 and 1981, Albus finds out about and gets the Cloak of Invisibility from James Potter, Harry Potter's father, for research. His second Deathly Hallow, you can say. The second Deathly Hallow he gets. And in 1981 was the fall of the Dark Lord. So Lord Voldemort's body get destroyed, you can say. Albus on that time was at the age, he was 100 years old. And Harry at the time was 1 year old. Yeah. From 1981 to 1995, it's the time between the wars, between the first and the second Visiting War. Between the wars, it was 14 years long, 14 years of peace, you can say, in the magical world. So on 1991 to 1992, it was Harry Potter's first year in Hogwarts. So the first book or the first movie start there. And Albus gives the Cloak of Invisibility, the Deathly Hallow, back to Harry Potter. Because he had taken it from his father for research reasons, because he wanted to know, is it really the Deathly Hallow? Is it really the Cloak of Invisibility in the legends, you can say, of Beedle the Bard or stuff like that? And he finds out, it is a Deathly Hallow, and he cannot give it back to James Potter because James Potter died, killed by Voldemort, and so he give it back to his son Harry Potter. Yeah, so this time it's the time it's the beginning of the Harry Potter series, of course. And so in 1992 to 1993, it's the second opening of the Chamber of Secrets, the second book of Harry Potter, the second movie. And it's also caused by the 16 years old Tom Riddle, because Lord Voldemort makes an Horcrux, and so his 16 years old version lived on in a book where he writes down his daily thoughts, and this book gets destroyed by Harry Potter, and it's the first Horcrux, it's a part of Lord Voldemort's soul that gets destroyed in the second book by Harry Potter. So we carry on. So from 1995 to 1997, it's the second Visiting War, 3 years long. And around 1996, Albus finds Marvologon's ring, which is one of Lord Voldemort's Horcruxes and one of the Deathly Hallows. Albus destroys the Horcrux and gets the Resurrection Stone, the third Deathly Hallow he gets, you can say, or he had in his hands, or he have in his hands. And when Albus puts Mavologon's ring on his finger, he gets cursed by Lord Voldemort, because Lord Voldemort, of course, he wants to protect his Horcruxes. And yeah, it's a deathly curse, and it kills him slowly. Thanks to Snape in his own magical powers, he can live. He not immediately dies, or not so fast. So yeah, it kills him slowly, you can say. Albus has only 1 year left to live from this point on. And why he was so he's such a good magician. Why he just why does he put the ring, Mavologon's ring, on his finger when he knows that Lord Voldemort wants to protect his Horcruxes, and he had to know he gets cursed? It's just because, it's also the resurrection stone, and he finds it out and wanted to talk again to his parents and to Ariana to say sorry for what happened back in his early life. What happened in the past. What he felt guilty about. He just want to talk to them, you can say. Yeah, just want to talk to them, to his family. Now we carry on. On 1997 was Albus Dumbledore's death. He was killed by Severus Snape. Free willingly, they planned it together. With the killing curse Avada Kedavra, he was killed. And after Albus' death, Harry gets the resurrection stone from Albus. And Lord Voldemort breaks into Albus' tomb and takes the Elder Wand from him, from his dead body. And even though he's not the real, Lord Voldemort's not the real owner from that point on, from the Elder Wand, but he takes it. He takes the Elder Wand as a, as a material thing. He takes the wand, And Albus Dumbledore's, that's what happened to these two Deathly Hallows. And of course, the third one, Harry had too, the Cloak of Invisibility. He had this Deathly Hallow from his first year on, you can say, because Albus give Harry the Deathly Hallow back, what he taked from his father. And also in this time, because Albus died, Albus' portrait version hangs in the headmaster's room in Hogwarts. Like all the other headmasters that died, the new headmaster, or the room where the headmasters live, you can say, or are, is full of portraits of the headmasters that were the headmasters of Hogwarts before. So, of course, Albus Dumbledore has also a portrait version after his death in the headmaster's room. And in 1998, Harry speaks with Albus in the Limbo World. So that's a world between living and between life and death. And Albus helps Harry there to win the duel against Lord Voldemort. And also, it's an important note, in 1998, Lord Voldemort's death, he was killed there by Harry Potter in the 7th book, in the 7th movie. I know there are 2 movies from the 7th book, you can say, but in the second part of the 7th movie, or in the 8th movie, you can say, Harry Potter killed Lord Voldemort in the 7th book. Yeah. So that's it. That's all there is. I take some side notes here. Like, for example, where Albus was born. He was born in late August in Mud-on-the-Wood, England, and he's raised and grown up in Godric's. He was raised and grow up in Godric's Hollow. Around 1891, Albus' father Percival searched for revenge for what happened to Ariana. Like I told you, she was attacked by 3 Muggle boys who bullied her because they don't understand her magic, and she also doesn't really understand it, and so she doesn't want to use it and couldn't control her emotions and her magic, like in the book, I think was written, 3 Muggle boys treated Ariana over the edge because they wanted to know her magic trick. Percival, as I said, was then imprisoned, was then sent to Azkaban, the prison in the Wizarding World, and died there around 1900. Albus and Gillard, when they meet for the first time, they were a lot, they spoke a lot of different things, but a lot of they were speaking a lot about the Deathly Hallows. They wanted to get them to have the power to change the world, and with changing the world, it's more meant they want to change the magical society, especially. They wanted to show the magical world to, at that time, to the Muggles, to the not magic people, or no match, how is it called in the American Wizard Society. And wanted to use the Deathly Hallows to change the world, to change the magical world. The Elder Wand, again, is the first Deathly Hallow Albus gets. And when Harry's parents died in 1981, Albus makes Lily's protection for her son, for Harry Potter. She sacrificed herself to protect Harry, and Albus makes this protection stronger. So, for example, stronger, it's a protection that comes with Harry's blood, and he makes it this way stronger, that he makes the magic, the spell stronger, you can say. And for that, as long as he's not an adult, he is protected as long as he lived by blood relatives of himself, and that's why he had to live for so long by I forgot the names. By his uncle Vernon and his aunt Petunia and his cousin Dudley. He lived there, even though if he doesn't like them and didn't want to live there, you can say. He was always safe when he was there, safe for Lord Voldemort and his Death Eaters. So that was very important for the story. And this protection also gets very important in the end when he fights against Lord Voldemort. And I have a second, I make a second, it's the second one of these, side notes, you can say, I make to fulfill Albus Dumbledore's timeline, I was referring sometimes to the original Harry Potter books and movie series from 1 to 7, of course. And yeah, in the second book, Harry Potter was destroying the first Horcrux, and so Albus Dumbledore, and later on Harry Potter too, finds out more about Lord Voldemort and his Horcruxes. Yeah, when Albus was dead, as I said, Lord Voldemort takes the Elder Wand from him, from his dead body, even though Lord Voldemort is not his real owner, so he cannot use him to his fullest potential like Albus Dumbledore did, you know. Then the next side note, the Albus Dumbledore version in the Limbo world, you could say, even though I think it's the real Albus. Yeah, because, you know, Harry Potter was in this Limbo world when Lord Voldemort used his Abracadabra, his deathly spell, to kill Harry Potter. But Harry Potter wasn't really dead. But Lord Voldemort killed his own Horcrux, who lives within Harry Potter. So after that spell, Harry gets into the Limbo world and could decide if he wanted to die or carry on living. And there he meets Albus, and I write here down Albus' version because he really think about, is this really Albus Dumbledore I see now? Because Albus Dumbledore is for sure dead, you know? Or is it just the version of Albus which is in my head? And Albus said then, even though maybe I'm just in your head, but it doesn't mean I'm not real. And the way he acted, and the way he knows things, it's more like, it's real Albus, you know? He really talked like Albus, and he really helped Harry Potter like Albus would do. And so, yeah, it's just, you know, because it's in the Limbo world, it's just how you see it. But it's definitely his character, even though it's not his real persona, you know, because he's at that time he was dead. But his character, you can say, his character, his personality, Harry Potter meets there in the Limbo world. In the Limbo world. And now we come to the next side note, especially at this time in the 1960s, where he also becomes the headmaster. He was often offered the position of Minister of Magic several times, but Albus turned down the offer. Albus turned down the offer every time because of what happened, of course, in 1899. Yeah, because a lot of people wanted to see him as the Minister of Magic in Britain, but yeah, I mean, he was the powerfulest magician, you can say, in the whole world in his time. And yeah, of course, and he had a lot of wisdom, so of course a lot of people wanted to see him in the position of Minister of Magic. He was the only one who was scared of, you can say, and he defeats Gellert Grindelwald, so he did a lot of great things and fights the evil, you can say. But yeah, he turned down the offer every time because of what happened in 1899. Yeah, here is just a little side note, the next one. Lord Voldemort, also known as You Know Who or the Dark Lord. And the last side note, it's about the Chamber of Secrets, because the 16-year-old Tom Riddle opened the Chamber of Secrets 2 times, and the first time as a real persona, you can say, because he was 16 at that time in 1943, and the second time, that was the second book of the Harry Potter's book, the second movie, you know, where Tom Riddle, of course, Lord Voldemort was not 16 years old at that time. But his body was destroyed, and his Horcrux, that he put in his, I forgot the name, the book where he writes down his thoughts, So the Horcrux, he had to be undestroyable, to live forever, you can say. In this Horcrux was the thoughts and being the character of Tom Riddle's 16 years old version too. So the second time, in 1992 to 1993, he also opens, with the help from Ginny Weasley, the Chamber of Secrets. Of course, Tom Riddle controlled her at that time, and opens it again, and Harry saves the day, you can say, and saved Ginny Weasley and destroyed the Horcrux and the Basilisk. And that's kind of keynotes, from the second book to the whole story, because it was the first Horcrux who actually get destroyed from Lord Voldemort. Destroyed, of course, by Harry Potter, and it's the only one Harry Potter destroyed, by the way. If you can say he destroyed the Horcrux who lived within himself, even though he not actually did it. Lord Voldemort did it himself, but he takes the action part, you can say. He wanted that this part gets destroyed, so he fight against Tom Riddle. Lord Voldemort, and also he destroyed Lord Voldemort himself, in the seventh book. He destroyed Lord Voldemort, and with the destruction of him, the whole, dark, how you can say it, the whole dark philosophy, the whole dark, personas, because then this regime was destroyed, and they could finally live on a more happy life, you can say, and get back to normality and do what they want to do. So that's it for now. I hope I get everything right. That was Albus Dumbledore, or a Harry Potter timeline. So he lived from 1881 to 1997. He gets 115 years old, so I think it was a good character to make a timeline with. And that's it. See you guys. I hope you enjoy it, and bye. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed to watch the video. Bye bye.